From Coda, bringing us into our headline segment. Good morning, welcome to GTV Breakfast. And on this side, we sit to look at all the stories that are making the rounds in the newspapers and elsewhere. You should follow our social media handles at GTV Ghana, and you'll be abreast of all the things that we talk about and more, and you also be very, very informed. Today at the table, I sit with two ladies who are no strangers to this table, and we'll be looking at all the stories that they have followed throughout the week. Akosua Hansen is a prolific writer, prolific media personality, prolific artistic activist, of a cultural curator, wearing many hats and still managing to look effortlessly beautiful. Akosua, good morning, welcome.
Good morning. Still managing to look tired.
We don't see. And another effortlessly beautiful Na Atre New York Pay communications expert and a friend from the PPAG who gives us all the advice on our reproductive health issues, joining us once again. Na, yes. Morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. We are grateful to the giver of life.
Amen.
Yes.
It's the last day of our Heritage Month, and before I take your thoughts of the day, let's go around and talk about what we should really focus on. March has come to an end, and for a lot of tables, for a lot of the conversations, it moves on beyond our culture, beyond our values, beyond what makes us who we are. What should we take away from this month of March, which should guide us as we go along the rest of the year until it's March 2024? Akosua.
I'd say, first of all, kudos GTV. From the beginning of the month to the end, to this end, I've seen all of you just really rep your African prints really well, and you all look wonderful. And I also applaud the content that you've also month. For me, what I'll say is, as we're ending the month of March, we should remember that the Ghana project was a freedom project. You know, that's why Ghana was formed. And all of us as Ghanaians are emissaries of carrying this dream of freedom. Freedom is a work in progress. Freedom is not an end destination. It's not something we reached and that's where it ended. If it did, when we won independence, that's where it would have ended. Then all of us would just vanish into space or universe. But no, it's a continuous thing, work in progress that we always have to keep fighting for. So I want us to end this month knowing that we are all part of building this freedom project, and it's a continuous thing all of us have to keep doing. And when we say keep doing it, looking at how we ourselves, perpetuate or do not perpetuate harm in our environment. How do we also perpetuate corruption? How do we perpetuate societal issues that stem freedom? So I want us to remember, as we end the month of March, to be a Ghanaian is to be a freedom fighter, and fighting for the freedoms of everybody, including women, including the queer community, including people who are in poverty, including people who are still trying to make a way where there's no way. People died for us. People shed their blood for us. That's why we commemorate it every month of March. So that's what I want us to go away with.
Akosua just had to go into the alphabet, but we'll get into a bit of that conversation a bit later. Now, heritage, what should it mean for us going forward?
I think that was really my rant. You see, that as a country, once March ends, we put everything to the shelves. We wait till March comes again, then we dust it, and then we bring it back to the table to show to the world that this is what we have as a country. And for me, that is my rant. Can we continue to actually portray or sell Ghana to the world, or bring the world to Ghana? Can we continue to tell them we have rich culture? This is our language, this is our music, this is our food, this is our naming style, this is our local tourism sites, and invite the world to see. Let us not use just March to make all the noise. Then after March, we all go to bed. So from tomorrow, 1st April, I'm sure we are all going to bed. But I trust GBC on this one. They never go to bed when it comes to culture. I mean, you've held that. And this morning, I want to say that you are doing so well. Now, our take home can also be the contribution of this Heritage Month to the local economy. Our ability to actually project our food, invite people to taste our food, invite people to wear our clothing, invite people to see our sites. The contribution it gives to the local economy cannot be a 9-day wonder. It cannot be from 1st March to 31st March. It must be like a continuous effort if we really want the local tourism industry to grow. Then again, to say that, see, our culture is already rich enough. And to say that the fact that culture is dynamic and you can change it, so we should also agree for additions that ordinarily will not enrich it, I think I don't agree. Right. For me, I mean, just because Akosua mentioned the issues of the queer community, we are, I mean, every Ghanaian is against the fact that you must take the law into your own hands. And by the mere suspecting of someone, beat the person or inflict harm on the person. I don't think any of us, myself, Akosua, or you, that is what we are preaching. But what we are actually also saying is that, I mean, the argument could also be that it's been with us and people do it. There isn't the need to also say that then let us actually agree and formalize it. I don't think that is what Akosia's argument is. It has been with us. And I mean, we live with them in our communities. But the argument that, so let us allow them to be free. See, it will start from an inch and we'll get to 2 inches. I wouldn't go too much into that because I think the debate has been settled.
I think Akosua wants you to bring this on because you see, yesterday
we had rants though. Don't forget.
Okay. It's just rant. So we'll go into that. But I'm saying is that when it comes to the LGBT argument, yesterday it was solved here. Was it yesterday? Of course it was, and I watched it. It's a done deal.
For now, it's a done deal, Akosua. So that was your rant, Heritage Month, and we should, appreciate our culture and not bring in stuff that may not be adding values. Akosua, what's your rant?
I think I want to now start to switch from rants to giving flowers. So I want to give flowers to 2 powerful women who really impressed me in the month of March. The month of March is also International Women's Day. It's when we celebrate celebrate women across the world. And the very first person I want to give flowers to is Shamima Muslim. Now earlier this week she did the introductory speech of the American VP. Harris, and her speech was so rousing. Shamima's speech was so rousing, and she raised a whole lot of great inspiring words about democracy, inclusion, diversity, growth. She shared a story of where she comes from. If the girls today watch it, this is them knowing that they can also be this way. She shared her time during the Mandela Washington Fellowship when she was the one that got to ask a question to Obama from Ghana, exactly, about what's happening today. Can there be real collaboration between America and Ghana, looking at the power differential? She shared all of this. And I feel like her speech was so rousing. When it was done, all of us just started screaming and shouting. And, and I haven't seen many people throw any highlights on that from that day. But I feel like Shamima's speech that day was wonderful.
We captured it in our news on GBC News.
Awesome.
Because I was there with Alan, with the whole team from the GBC side, presenting the public with live coverage. What an experience that was.
I think none of us has really seen that side of Shamima. I mean, I've engaged with her. We've seen her on set. We've seen her on other platforms. But there was a certain raw in her. You could, that time I was like, this is the girl. And for me, I think even the introductory part of her speech, that when she was approached to do this, she asked herself, why me? Then later, that still small voice told her that, why not me? Yes. And I think that for me was the message, that when you think that, can I do this? Can we have a next female president in this country? Can we have a next female this? Can we have a next female this? And you think that you are that female, don't ask yourself, why me? Why is everybody telling Akosua, you can be a member of parliament? Thelma, you can be to happen you can go to BBC, you can do this. Don't ask yourself why me, just ask yourself why not me. See, we are made of more. That's what I think. We are simply made of more.
I from commentary position, you can only listen, and when you close your eyes and listen to someone speaking, and you open your eyes to see that, like, you're almost tearing up, because the story of women really needs to be told, and the difficulties. One day, perhaps Shamima, and she's told us this personally, Shamima would come public about why she's taking a more back seat role in this thing that we are doing to be on-air personalities. So she's not as on-air as she was before. She made that sacrifice because she is a woman.
Yeah.
Because at some point, a woman needs to make a call and say, you know what? This is my priority. And women do that a lot. I don't think we say it enough about what the career sacrifices mean. She's honed this whole Alliance for Women in Media Africa thing so well. And this is just us, singing our convenience praises.
I think that's what we're all sending hearts to
Exactly.
Shabima, wherever you are, we love you.
Because
We're proud
yes,
of you.
Yes. And my last person was yesterday, Prof. Techiwa Menu. Prof. Techiwa Menu, I feel like the conversation, people didn't know who they were talking to yesterday. If you want to study gender and sexuality on the African continent, period, any university you're going to be in, Prof. Techiwa Menu will be on your curriculum. I'm a gender student from the Masters, from the University of Ghana Institute of African Studies. For Masters of Philosophy, I had to study Prof. Techiwa Menu's work. So she is actually, what she was saying yesterday as an anthropologist, has done a long breadth of work from gender and sexuality to modern immigration, African immigration, and things like that, right? And her type of work is not an easy thing to do. You get all sorts of abuse. Techiwa Menu has also been very instrumental in part of demonstrating for democracy that we are living peacefully today, and we want to just rubbish, and so for me, seeing my someone I had to study to be able to pass exams come and do what she was what I had to read about live on TV, like I'm alive to see it. Yesterday was just wonderful for me. I wish this happened when I had to do exams, and then so I have a live way to remember the things to write my exams and pass. But I'm glad that I was alive to see Prof. Techiwa Menu in action in this time. It's beyond just, you see usually when you have your journals, the literature they give you, you just see their names at the end or whatever. I saw her, in action. So that's also someone I want to give flowers to this month of March. It's not easy work, and she is the expert in this business. So, I give her flowers.
So we hosted the U.S. Vice President in Ghana this week, starting Sunday until Wednesday. And she had several engagements with CAT across so many areas. And yet, it was a response to one question that dominated the headlines days after, and even after she's moved on, resurrecting conversations about the country's position on LGBTQ plus III. Listen, the alphabets are many, but it once again brought this subject into the limelight. And you mentioned queer. You seemed to allude to a certain direction. I'll give you the opportunity to perhaps make that a bit more clear. Now, Trey says, don't hurt anybody, but don't.
And I mean,
don't force it.
So that's my rant. I'm sure that maybe you give me the chance to rant for just you see. So if the U.S. Vice President had the chance to listen to the way some media personalities attacked her, I'm not sure she would be happy she came here. It's okay to disagree with the US's position, or to say that, well, she came here and she made that position, and that may trigger a certain level of, just to, she's here to set an agenda for the LGBTQ community, whatever. But I don't think that the US would, the Vice President will come with all this, her entourage just for this reason, when she could simply also sit in the comfort of her home and do the same if she would have loved to do. I think some media persons, I must say not at GBC, but in other media houses, use very unprintable words against the US Vice President. And I think that is uncalled for. They owe her an apology. Like I said, it is okay to say that, I disagree. We are not accepting any queer community, what have you. But it is so unwarranted for someone to visit your country just out of courtesies and out of some ties you share with a person, and then this is how you decide to treat the person. That is hypocrisy. So we match the street, school children saying that, hey, welcome, Madam Vice President and all that. And then on set, we are throwing these jabs at her. It is so unwarranted. Now also, I think I have an advice. Instead of we parading kids to hold Ghana flags, why don't we, by the time this woman is descending the cares, have an exhibition of what our school children be able to put together? Is it petty aircraft? Is it fabrics? Is it molded cars? so that the US Vice President will now walk through an array of ideas, imaginations from these young kids, than putting them in T-shirts or whatever, and then asking them to go and stand in the sun. For what reason? For me, my child will never stand in the sun and welcome anybody. Let nobody stand also stand in the sun and welcome me.
You see, there are two sides to this argument.
Tell me, what I'm saying is that whilst, see, the first reception given to the Vice President, instead of the kids saying just the mere handshake, it is something to show that I made this, I did this.
That's one argument.
And if it's that also on the sun, if they are doing that on the sun, that's agreed.
That's one argument.
Yes, and the other
I think that it's a very solid point that you've landed. That, you know, let's put creativity out there, let's put innovation out there, let's put brains that have been put together, a vision actualized, let's put it on the table. But as a child who saw Clinton drive past my school and I waved a flag, you see, children are different. We, as with the benefit of adulthood and maturity, we see beyond a certain line.
Okay.
For a child, for the young Thelma that stood at Bishop Girls' School, that waved the flag at President Jerry Rawlings and Clinton, that memory has never left me. For that child who came from the community, Basics International, the program is at Choco. Naturally, you and I know Choco very well. There is no way that child had a dream that included her shaking the hands of the highest ranking female black
in the world.
Maybe. In America.
Yeah.
Listen,
I mean, maybe.
And my biases are showing.
There are superpowers in the world. Let's
and
just
yes,
that.
the temperature, you know, the weather is something to consider. To be fair, what I saw was that they were put under a tent. Okay. And they were there for the longest time until it was ready for Her Excellency to step off the plane. Yes. We weren't under tent. Like the media, we were out in the sun everywhere. But they need to be protected, yes. But to take that option off the table and say, what? Can I see my icon? Can I shake hands with somebody
I'm not saying we are taking that. I'm not saying we are taking that option off the table, Akosua. What I'm saying is that, so instead of they being there on the sun with just the Ghana flag, which we've been waving since our grandparents were born,
it's our flag.
Can we have an inclusion? I mean, they do BDT. I can't readily give basic, you know, this beat arts and crafts. Yeah. Can it be a showcase of them? Maybe then at the time you were waving the flag, even if it's a bead that you were carrying, I mean, to say that, just to say that maybe I made this, that would have put you, I'm not saying you're not in a better position, but the sight of maybe Jerry Rawlings seeing that or Clinton seeing that might have given you an opportunity elsewhere. It could be still here in Ghana, but a better opportunity. So what I'm advocating is that it shouldn't just be mere Ghana flag. Is that all our kids have to show? Obviously, no. They are doing in the classroom.
On the traffic situation that always happens when we have these dignitaries. I feel like a lot of people were really pissed that day. Hey, truck drivers. I think today like, who is this person? I want to know what you think. I want to know what you think.
So let me share a personal story. That morning, I have an intern in my office from the University of Education, Winneba, whose supervisor told me that, so I would come on the Wednesday to assess the students. And the speech was delivered on a Tuesday. Okay, she didn't tell me. It's the intern who told me. But not knowing, this supervisor had wanted to be sure that the intern comes to work. So instead of giving her Wednesday, she gave her Tuesday.
Okay.
So I didn't know Tuesday the supervisor would come. So I was just setting off from home. Then I had a call from them that, the supervisor from University of Education. So I'm like, what? Then I had a calculation. Okay, so if the speech is around Independence Square, then many people will use Circle. So there will be traffic on this stretch. Let me still use the Independence Square. I spent 3 days on that stretch. My dear. I spent 3 days. The traffic. What? At a point, I did something. I wouldn't want to share that one. It's okay. No, but let's go. I did something.
The police will be coming for you. But you see, it's like sacrifices that we hope brings us gains.
Exactly.
Yes. So we put something forward and hope to get something in return. As we wrap up on Kamala Harris's visit, do you think that we put, for what we've put in and for all the inconveniences and for what you've said, like the VP catching some heat from the Ghanaian public, have we put in enough to merit what we hope to get back from this trip?
Well, so when you say what we hope to merit, I don't know what you think.
So
it's
there's a number of things that
financial.
she mentioned. Her speeches, her freedom speech at the Black Star Square talked about women empowerment
Governance,
and all the things that they
Digitalization.
want to
Yeah.
do to make sure that the African youth has the opportunity to use innovation to solve the world's problems and also address local issues. And the commitment to democracy. The US has promised 100 million to coastal West Africa, so 4 countries in West Africa, to help us with our terrorism and other extremism activities. Are we there? And where do we go from here is the question that we ask, because beyond the talk, there has to be action.
So beyond the talk, you see, so her presence, just like we were saying about Shamima's speech, it gave a certain raw while she delivered the speech. You could tell that, see, she brought a certain revival, if that is the word, into those of us who have an appreciation of what she was doing. So as for the trotro driver, for example, who may not have an appreciation of what she was doing, but for most of us who had an appreciation of what she was doing, we think that, see, she's given us a call to action. Let us really look how we treat women in this country, or let us really look at women. Let us really look how we allow ourselves to be treated, if that is the word. Because her final thoughts were that when we say women inclusion, it's not the fact that so they are included,
So
but
we are
the fact
part of
that
the
they are
numbers.
also leading. Let us look at the numbers. So in the coming elections, let us look at the number of women we are putting in parliament, competent women for that matter. Let us look at the number of appointments we also give to women who may be equally competent and have something to deliver, but they are not interested in fronting a flag or coming to say that, well, I want to put myself up for this position. She also called on us to look at our governance systems. Let us look from central government to local government. Even more, she even called on the private sector, and I'm sure that will lead into our discussion into the taxes in Parliament and how it affects the private sector and everything. For me, it's a call to action. For me, she brought revival. For me, she told me things I would always love to hear. And as a woman, I would love to always have a playback of that tape. It will be an everyday energizer battery for me.
Everyday energizer.
So for me, I feel like I'm very happy that you actually asked this question. I feel like this whole week the conversation segued into a lot of flurry and hullabaloo that wasn't needed. So I would like us to think again about the question you asked, that are we, the sacrifice we made for this, are we benefiting the gains? That then makes us think, why did a VP come here? What's happening in the world? That's what I want Ghanaians to talk about. Russia and China are moving in to Africa, right? And U.S. foreign policy for the time under Trump had become more nationalist and less, outreach in the international and their U.S. foreign policy, because that was what Trump's whole administration wanted and mandated. And while this has happened, for the worries with the U.S., their political rivals are now moving into spaces that they want to be in. So this is not just a light, happy-go-lucky, let's wave. No, this is a very international political, well thought global forces that are moving in. And so therefore, as Ghanaians, as Africans, we have to ask ourselves, what does this mean? There's the fear of terrorism, which is growing across our borders. There's the fear of Russian mercenaries. The Wagner mercenaries have been in Mali and in other parts of West Africa, right? Our president has spoken about this before, and we've gone to China for money, all of this. So Americans moving in is them trying to now claim space. We are trying to see how are they going to be able to work with Russia and China through Ghana. What would that foreign policy look like? And as Ghanaians, I want us to also ask ourselves, how do we make sure we are not again tools to these bigger powers? How do we make sure we retain our autonomy, protect ourselves, take what we need from them, and then better the country? So, for instance, this $100 million announcement that she made, right? The money we also got from China. My worries are, is it going to go back to the government, the political leadership that has, in the past few years, I said few years, decades, run this country in corruption? Is it going to go back to big scandals where we're going to hear that, COVID funds went here, or instead of that? Is it going to go back to that? Because if it's going to go back to that, then our own people are as bad as the foreign forces we are afraid are moving into the space. So I want us to, as Ghanaians, really think politically about what this means for the VIP to come here. The thing she mentioned, they were trying to do digital economy, the progress in that is a big thing. You should see the conversations and the fights that's happening in the US with trying to ban TikTok.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's very
CEO to meet the house.
Exactly. There are some countries, I think like Saudi Arabia, Russia, that are trying to move away from the US dollar to use the Chinese yuan amongst themselves. It's a very, very political. So let's not focus on the things that people want us to divert our attention from and not see what is really happening in front of us. That is what a free-thinking Ghanaian needs to do.
Right. The ladies have touched on much of the topics that the papers are talking about today, and we'll just make a quick run through what the front pages look like at this time. The Ghanaian Times, with a picture of the Adriabo gas plant, parts of the country to face 14-day power interruption as the gas plant shut down for maintenance. So a power deficit there that needs to be worked around. NIA begins distributing backlogged 541,529 Ghana cards. Wednesday, MP urges President to ratify Suicide Act and 1.2 million power theft. 3 ECG workers, 7 others busted for stealing and money laundering. 3 remanded for vigilantism, illegal possession of firearms. Ghanaian Times headlines there. The Finder newspaper, Ministry denies politicizing road allocations. Photograph of the sector minister captured there. NPP flag bearer race. Bawumia must win campaign launched. Professor Ofori-Boadu gets high recognition in US for professorial contributions. Photograph of the professor there. 2022 Jubilee House had 361 political appointees. 163 worked physically at the presidency. 198 worked with other state agencies. Story on page 2 of the Finder newspaper. Pension scheme may be cancelled with change in government. Cocoa farmers. And so the details of that story also on page 6 of the Finder newspaper. The Daily Graphic also focusing massively on the power production, and the paper says that's in danger. ECG owes IPPs $1.4 billion. Constituency watch on Nalerigu Gambaga constituency, the home of scenic tourist sites. I would have loved to see some of these scenes and the sites as well in that constituency. But hey, perhaps put that on your bucket list for when you're up north next time. And we are seeing photographs of some dove caves at Nalerigu. Should be quite interesting if you plan a trip there with the family. Tackling violent extremism requires a collective response. President Akufo-Addo at the UN Security Council. Remember, the president is out to the country for that meeting. 4 parties kick against overhaul of constitution. Yesterday, we saw representatives of the political parties addressing the media after those conversations happened. All these stories in the newspapers today. It is doomsday not is the question that we are asking, but there is a challenge, and maintenance is important. Ladies, we talk about, we don't have a good maintenance culture, so we're trying to ensure that we maintain these facilities, these generation things that we have, equipment and whatnot, so that we do not get into crisis. Surely that must be good. Might not be nice sleeping in darkness like Matiti did last night. But if it has to be done, it has to be done, is what I say, unless you feel different.
Well, so I think let me start with the name Dumso. It has come to stay. And so even if it is just park cut for 5 minutes, people say Dumso is back. And even when it is like, we have to ration power so that we can put our plants in good shape. People think that Dumso is here. And so let us not actually misinterpret this release to say that Dumso is back. Okay. My challenge, however, is that I think we've gone 7 days already before this this announcement was issued. Have we? It's ending on 7th April. And 7th April from now is not 2 weeks.
It's at 31st. So I'm going to walk over to the screen. The release is actually there now.
Please do.
So that we get a sense of what the ECG wants to tell people. So this was the announcement of the release that was given to the public, and it's the electricity company informing the public that due to maintenance work being carried out at the National Gas Company, there is a power generation shortfall, and so there is a schedule that was supposed to have started from Thursday, which was the 30th of March, to Friday, the 7th of April. And you're saying that that's not what's happening.
What I'm saying
this
is that
what ECG told us.
What I'm saying is that, Thelma, at the time this schedule is coming, some of us have had to endure 7 days of interrupted power already.
Yeah.
And so it means we are doing another 1 week.
And your prepaid is not finished.
This prepaid matter. This prepaid matter.
I'm just asking, maybe it's there's a self. When your prepaid gets finished and you haven't.
Oh, I think I now understand what you mean. Oh no, prepaid is not finished. What I'm saying is that some of us have had to endure 7 weeks of interrupted power. So it goes off, then it comes back, it goes, and then it comes. Even if you are not home and power goes off, by the time you come, a few equipment at home will tell you that maybe power went off and then it was restored later or yet to be restored. And so I've had to endure that 7 weeks. Go into the schedule.
7 weeks or 7 days.
Sorry, 7
so
days.
The schedule,
I've not seen my area again, so it means
Teshi is not here.
It's not here, yes.
Oh.
So it means we've enjoyed our 7 days already. I've not seen Teshi, or I've not done a thorough check.
if you're in category A, then it's a 19-page document, and it covers all areas. But bottom line, if you are in the A's, then you went off yesterday, the Thursday the 30th. If you are in the B's, tonight you should go out. Don't stay at home, because 6 to 11 there's doom in your house.
Thelma, are we allowed to sleep in the studio? Thelma, in the evenings, are we allowed to sleep
and
here?
And it's 6 to 11 p.m.
So when there's no power, we can come here.
We'll find space for you.
Please do.
So if you're in the B category, and you can find out which where you fall if you go through the list. Many areas mentioned there. So I saw Matiti's area in the yesterday. I am not surprised that yesterday she had a full doom. But there's a short this morning, so it's fine. Friday, all the B's are going off on Friday. Saturday, 6 p.m. to 11 p.m., all the C's are going out. On Sunday is the 10 of the D's. Monday, the A's go again. Tuesday, the B's. Wednesday, the C's. Thursday, the D's go again. So it's like the A people... the A people are going off 3 times, so then everybody else is going twice. Or my mathematics is no good.
What places are in?
So in the A, so it cuts across regions. So for there are the parts that are in Accra, there are the parts that are in Ashanti, there are the parts that are in Central and Volta regions as well. Western is also there, and so if you look at the list in its entirety, you are better able to see where you fall. It's 19 pages, so lots of areas there. Someone is trying to make this into something I can see a bit more clearly. So it's a tall list. So if you're in A, in Accra, for example, you see this stream of areas named there. It's a tall list. It feels like almost the whole of Accra is in A, but it's not, because I've seen a few, I've tried to find a few places that are not in that list. And so there's the Volta list as well for A, and there is also the Ashanti list for A, and then there comes the other regions as well. So ECG Tema is a separate region. It doesn't mean that like Tema is no longer Greater Accra. It's still Accra. So don't get confused. Western is also there, Eastern also there. So it's going around. It's like the NEDCO people are not part of this one, because I haven't seen the northern parts in this list. So it looks like the northern parts may not be a part of this ECG exercise. But that's what ECG is saying. And now you're saying that you've had yours already for the past 7 days.
Yes, there's been interruption in power for the past week. That's 7 days. But I'm not seeing Teshi. That's why I'm saying that. Well, maybe we've had our share already.
Maybe they used another name for it. I've seen Yomo Special.
Hey,
so
you saw what? You saw Yomo Space.
I saw Yomo Space somewhere in the list, because I've gone through it, and I can't say that I saw. It's Yomo Space, not Teshi. Is it near your house?
Tell maybe another one.
The doom is coming for you, because there's quite a lot in here. It's a lot, so you just have to go through it very, very carefully, so that you know when to prepare. And they give us this schedule, so you know to prepare. Charge your phones, perhaps grab a power bank, so that when there is the doom comes, you won't be in total darkness. At least your phone light can help you get to some points. Cozy, have you experienced any of it?
Oh, last weekend. So when she was saying it, last weekend we did have intermittent light outs on Sunday, I think. So, Sunday morning. Sunday morning.
But you are in church, so if there's no light
for
at
those
home.
of us who don't do church, Sunday morning is our time to commune with ourselves, play some nice music, listen to inspirational things, and then that's when the light has gone off.
What time did it come back?
It came back around 2 in the afternoon, I think. Okay. Around 2 in the afternoon. So I went out for fufu instead.
Which is not bad.
I mean, so with this schedule, if I'm in A and Thelma is in B, if I don't have lights, I'll just come to Thelma's house. Or the next one, then I go to Akosia. So I'll steady it, and because I know where all of you stay, then I'll know where to go at every point.
There's a comment I'm dying to make, but I'm afraid that it will jinx it. So I'm not even going to put that at the end. It's an oversight. Then I'll just, brace through. But hey, ECG is owing IPPs 1.4 billion. They've been recently on a collection drive to try and get back some of their monies, and now there is this power production which is in danger because we owe the IPPs money. People think that, okay, well, you always increase the tariffs and we don't see the kind of corresponding improvement in the service delivery that we expect. But then people also owe the ECG money, and they need to pay their independent power producers in order to continue to supply us the power that we need at home. So that story is also on page 3 of the newspaper. Independent Power Producers, IPP, the electricity generation companies that control 50% of the country's generation mix, have called on the government to urgently settle its indebtedness to them. The 9 companies said the ECG owed them the city equivalent of $1.4 billion as of last month. And they were the ones who were formerly known as the Chamber of Independent Power Producers, Distributors and Bulk Consumers. They're telling the Daily Graphic in an exclusive interview that the government must pay up at least the overdue debt, which constituted more than half of the indebtedness. More details in the show, in the story. Dr. Elikplim Apetogbo told the Daily Graphic the debt meant the IPPs will not have working capital to finance inputs such as chemicals for treating water for the thermal generators, as well as other supplies, many of which were denominated in foreign currency, mostly the dollar. So we are owing ECG just pay is basically what we're saying, isn't it, ladies? So, Akosia, what's your experience with Dumso apart from the Sunday one? Have you seen your area in the schedule?
Yeah, now that I've seen this, I was searching while we're doing this show, but I can't be doing that now. So when I go, I'm going to find my place. And then, like, the plan she's laid out, I'll see where, you know.
come to my house.
Exactly. Yeah, I like to fool.
Don't worry.
I'm hearing slumber party. But hey, we'll get to that in a bit. Other stories, and I think all 3 papers touched on this, about the staffing, presidential staffers at Jubilee House. I'm trying to get to the Finder newspaper story on page 2, and it's also in the Daily Graphic as well in the inner pages. But the Finder account, written by Elvis Daku, good morning to you, Elvis. The total number of political appointees working at the office of the president as at the end of 2022 numbered 361. So there's 2 ministers of state, 44 senior presidential staffers, and 315 other political appointees. This was contained in an annual report to Parliament on staffing at the office of the president, submitted to Parliament for the period 1st January to 1st December 2022. Section 11 of the Presidential Office Act is what is the basis for this. The report covered 3 key areas, namely the number of presidential staff employed at the office of the president during the period, the ranks and grades of these staff, and the employees of other public services assigned to the office of the president. So the report says that 163 work physically at Jubilee House and 198 work in state organizations. So they have been assigned to other offices that is outside of the seat of government. And according to the release, the 315 other political appointees include special assistants, executive assistants, personal assistants to ministers of state and regional ministers, employees in the office of the vice president, aides and assistants assigned to the first lady and second lady, as well as employees assigned to government agencies under the office of the president, such as NE, so it's NEIP, Free SHS Secretariat, MASLOC, Special Development Initiatives, Secretariat, Monitoring and Evaluation Secretariat, Zango and Inner Cities Development Secretariat, among others. The final newspaper story also goes on to say that 687 staff of public organizations are also employees of the private sector. More details in that story. Different categories of staff, administrative and executive and clerical workers, all in that report. The Daily Graphic also captured that story in the inner pages. What are our thoughts about these figures? 361, okay, or just too much?
Well, so I think I would start simply because my comments are very brief. Then my Akosua can have her say. The presidency is supposed to submit this report to Parliament in the first quarter, and so let's commend the presidency for having been able to. Because I heard then sometime. Beginning of March that because of the huge numbers they are unable to bring it to Parliament, but thankfully they've met the deadline because the first quarter ends today. Then again, let me also admonish the efficient use of human resources. For me, I don't know what goes on into the work at the presidency. So if 361 is the most efficient number and not a bloated number, I don't think I have any qualms against it. If it is the most efficient use, if it's the most efficient number that the presidency can do with, then so be it for them. And let me also say that, in as much as some will say that 361 is very huge or it's manageable, we want these numbers to translate into productivity. Let us see that there is something happening. Let us see the work on the ground. Let us see let their presence there, the efficient use of that human resource translate into productivity. I'll keep my thoughts short and simple.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Na, because I feel like the conversation has been about we have to reduce the size of government. This is a crisis time. We're just talking about the $100 million now. The US is also promising we've been going to China. So if we are doing all of these things, it's like what is also being done at that level to make sure we reduce government spending, government expenditure at that level, and efficiency, as Na said, is key. I feel like because of the crisis of the time, if normally you need 3 assistants, it should be 1 for now. It should be 1 for now. I think earlier on, at the beginning of this year, we spoke about the Dutch government and the Netherlands, how small their staffing is. In Germany, how small their staff are in government. Why can't we have that number? I think even someone passed a comment earlier that Kwame Nkrumah had only 12 ministers. When they started the project called Ghana. If this is
we were
true,
6 million at the time.
we're 6 million.
Now we are
30.8.
32. Yeah.
But efficiency is a thing. If you can have one person who can do that work really well, like for instance, Thelma, you know how to interview very well. So I would use you and use you efficiently for that job.
Alaji's wife watches coming this morning.
Hey,
For this
really?
comment. We'll give you some.
God will bless you.
So instead of rather going to hire someone who can do the work that Thelma does, and then you have to spend more money on them all the time doing that work, you rather go for a Thelma and cut costs, right? If you can take on certain burdens, because that's your as a political leader, and if you're in government, you are supposed to serve the people. You are a servant to the people. So if it means taking on even more work than you usually do, it's not for you to lord and drive in cars with sirens. No. You're here to serve the people. If that's what you have to do, take on that work, and let's also give trust back to the people. Make the people feel that our government is also doing something, to reduce their expenditure. And that's really what this argument is, right? Make us feel that you are also doing your part in all of this. It's not just you going out to go and ask for loans and money and all of that. When all of this comes, what are you also doing? What trust have you built with us?
I would want to know what the number is compared to the other that we are actually cutting down, like the general consensus appears to be that we all need to, just strip everything a little slimmer for the purposes of preserving some money, so we could put them to other uses. So yes, presidential staffers list out, and we've had a go at it. There is also, and we are going back to the alphabet conversation again, which yesterday at the table here brought lots and lots of of eyeballs, Parliamentary Committee recommends passage of the controversial anti-LGBTQ plus bill. Before we even get into the details of that, ladies, suicide has been expunged as a crime in our books. And we are all for the mental health. And we cannot say enough how important this is and how crucial it is for persons who find themselves so low that they resort to such unfortunate means and thinking that it's all over. It's not all over. If you need help, there is help available for you. And perhaps in the coming days, we'll try and engage more with some players in that space to see what are the actual systems in place to support persons who have been through this, because there are people who spent time in jail for expressing that vulnerability, for expressing that depth of low that they had sunk to. So now that this is no longer a thing, how are we supporting people who would have found themselves in these dire straits? And I would want to have engagement on that. So we want to have a quick bite on that, and then we get into the LGBTQ plus
well, so I think I'll start my delivery from last week when Akosua was sending hearts, was sending resilience to people. I think maybe she saw this coming, prophetess, and saw that well. Prophetess Akosua. And to also add to what you said, let us, when we go through the very low deaths, let's talk to people. Sometimes you may not want people around you to know what you are going through. Yeah. It's even also okay to speak to a total stranger that you trust from afar. See, it's okay to see Thelma on TV every morning and one day slide into Facebook, look for Thelma and say, I need to talk to you. It's about this, this, and this. If Thelma has time to say that, maybe come to GBC reception, ask of me, and that you come, you meet her. If in her own small space she's unable to, I'm sure she has all the, all the links. Yeah. So be it to say that, okay, you need to speak to this person from the mental health authority. You need to speak to this if it's about unemployment. Taking your own life is a no-no. But then also, what will make somebody, as sweet as this life is, to say that I'm taking my life, it should tell you that the person is at a stage in life where, see, and Thelma, I've been there before. One of them, I'll share the story with you. I'll share with the two of you, but not on air. See, I've been there before. But let me just say, at a time when I lost my job, when I least expected, I thought the world had come to an end. Somewhere in 2020. I thought this is it. And every evening, every night, my mother would come and check whether I'm breathing and say that, leave your door open, don't lock the door. To that extent, she would say that, leave the door open. And I wake up, I'll just see this woman sitting on a plastic chair, but I'm like, why? I'm
still here.
Just say that. I mean, I'll harm myself. Yeah. So please, when you are at the low moment, speak to somebody. If you think that if I speak to Thelma Akosua because they are my friends and they know me, they know what I'm going through, speak to total strangers. But there is help. Don't take your life. And I'm happy that it has been decriminalized for all those who fronted the former Mental Health Authority boss and other members of Parliament, civil society organizations who fronted this. See, we are proud of this achievement. And I think that, see, I'm a happy person. Yeah. But help is here. Let's seek help.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, I mean, this is a very big win for exactly. Ghana this week. It's a great way to end, March, the month of March. As I was saying, for someone to get to the point of wanting to take their own life, it's not something that you would say, we are going to put them in jail because they tried to do that. Think about it. If you don't know how to swim, right, and you go underwater, your body just naturally is trying to fight up to catch some air. If your hand goes into fire, immediately you're trying to remove it, right? If you're in pain with your tummy, you're trying to remove all of it just so that you would be relieved again. So for a human being to be able to do the opposite of what nature would even just naturally do, which is fight for air, which is remove their hand from the fire, it tells that there's really something hugely wrong that's gone. That's not the fault of the person. It's a mental health issue, because the brain, the emotional, all of that just is not functioning the way it would, because naturally this is what your body would do. So it's actually crazy to me that we actually could send people to jail for attempting suicide. So I'm glad that we've come to some clarity, in 2023. I'm glad that we've come to kindness in 2023 to recognize that attempted suicide should be decriminalized. And now let's go beyond decriminalization to what she was talking about, to systems in place. We should have a therapy culture. Therapy should be something that people should feel they should be easily be able to do. It should be very affordable. Therapy, I know, is just usually in my experience has just been in international schools. There's usually a psychologist, there's a therapist. When you come out, there's people hiring people who can pay for therapy. Actually, a lot of hospitals have psychiatrists you could see if you want to, and I feel like they can be very affordable.
And so, can we normalize seeing psychiatrists when we need them?
Yes.
And not, straight away think that people, and I don't like to use it, people have mental health issues. We don't want to use that other word, that three-letter word that starts with an M and M to the D.
Yes.
But then when people need help, they should feel free and to access that help and to be able to talk about getting that help and the benefits that provided to them to go through their systems. I think most of us, we use our families as our therapists, don't we, and our friends.
And I watched a short tape from Bishop T.D. Jakes and said, see, whatever you go through, just survive it. When you go through betrayal, just survive. Don't take your life. Survive that stage. Just all you can do is to survive. It may be difficult, but the word is that whatever you go through, job loss, marriage loss, betrayal, whatever it is, just survive. And so the word I'm leaving with you this morning is that whatever you go through, just survive.
And I'll say I want to add that the little that we can also do in our own spaces, to be able to make your aura clear enough so that Natra, when she's around me, won't feel suppressed or whatever. What do you do in your little way? I really love doing my radio show every evening because I get calls from people. I'm stressed in the day, I'm depressed, but the fact that I can join Akosi and DJ Kes at the end of the day, listen to some music, relax, all of those environmental things, it's even more than just therapy. The radio you listen to, the type of content we put out, the music, the church is a big place for a lot of people. Religious institutions are a big place for a lot of people. So because these are also other options, we need to make sure where we also come in, make sure as we're also contributing
the social support structures.
Social support structures, yes.
Ladies, you've done this beautifully. So there is, the elephant in the room most of the time when it's on the table, trying to keep a firm, middle ground when it comes to moderating such conversations about the controversial LGBTQ plus bill. And the final newspaper on page 2 talking about the parliamentary committee recommending the passage of that bill. And so it's like an unending conversation that once again, because of what happened during the visit of Madam Kamala Harris, has brought to the fore. So now there appears to be a more active push for that so-called anti-gay bill to be passed. Akosia, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't think I'll say much because my professor was here herself yesterday, and I would definitely recommend to everyone watching to go back. It's on GTV's Facebook, GTV social media. The full interview is there. Prof. Menu spoke very well yesterday, and apart from that interview, just search her and others in the Big 18 who've done a lot of conversations about this. What I'll say is when you're sick, right? You go to a doctor to diagnose the sickness, isn't it? When you want to draw up plans to build up a house, you go to an architect to draw up the plans for the house. So when it comes to gender and sexuality, the problem we've had in this country is we go to people who are not at all experts and have no knowledge at all on gender and sexuality and are in the places and positions to make legislation about these things. So when it comes to gender and sexuality, same way if I'm sick, I go to a doctor. Go to gender experts. The person you had yesterday, which is why I commend you, Prof. Techiwa Menu is actually a gender expert. I know we can believe in our pastors. I know we love their inspiration and support they give us. But it's like saying, oh, I'm sick and I'm going to my pastor to diagnose the sickness. Oh, I want to build my house. I'm going to my pastor to draw up the plan, the architectural plan for the house. No, I would say the only thing we should be doing right now in this country, let's speak to the people who are actually the experts, the gender and the sexuality experts. And they are not few and far between, because like I said, I'm a student of the University of Ghana. We studied them. One of them was here yesterday. Speak to those people if you actually want to have the real conversation, that around these issues, instead of just moving blindly. The final thing I would like to add is we have to be very, very careful in this time, in the Ghanaian generation today, about being a part of something that many years down the line, people will look at us and be like, you allowed this? This is exactly what happened with Nazi Germany. Germans today are very, very touchy about that history. Whenever you speak to and you want to bring that up, it's a very touchy thing. And at the time of Nazi Germany, trust you me, not all Germans supported what Hitler was doing. Many Germans did not support it. Many Germans did not want to be involved in it. But because they are in a country with legislation, because they are forced to be drafted into the army and live life a specific way, they were forced by the country's legislation to move in that direction. And what happened? One of the world's most terrible things in our history, of which we were a part of. So I'm going to say here today, I'm a Ghanaian living in this generation today, and I'm going to be the voice for love. I'm going to be the voice for kindness. I'm going to be the voice for freedom, which is what the Ghana Project was about. And if we are actually trying to move things in this direction, if you don't understand the thing, don't go and make a law to punish people for a thing you don't understand. Do the work of, now let's educate, let's talk amongst ourselves, let's create support structures. Even if you say you don't agree with queer people, why would someone you claim you're a Christian, you love your neighbor as yourself, why would you say, I don't understand you, go to jail? No, I don't understand you, come, let's talk. Let me also show you my way of life. Let me also show you how I think. And let me hear you too. That is how to move. It's not immediately, let me put you. It's the same thing with the suicide thing. At first, they don't understand. Why would you kill yourself? When you're done, they are going to put you in jail. Does that make sense today? No. So I feel like I'll end here. As a Ghanaian, you need to move in the path of freedom. You need to move in the path of love. Mm-hmm. You need to move in the path of clarity, because people shed their blood for this project that we are living here so freely in. So that's what I'll say.
Nah.
Thelma, I also said from the beginning of this conversation that I watched the interview yesterday. And for me, the conversation is ended. Good morning to Moses Famoini. Let me send him love also for the good work that he's doing. And to say that, see, they've lived with us, I've said from the beginning. Now it's like the community is growing and growing and growing. There is the need for legislation. I'm sure that Akosua agrees.
Nope.
In as much as...
Akosua does not agree that there should be legislation. So, Professor Techwamenu yesterday, now if you'd give me a minute. Sure. Professor Techwamenu believes that the whole bill should be picked up and dumped in the bin. That's what Prof believes. You agree?
100%, because basically what you're saying is like I have a law and I've codified so clearly how I'm going to kill all people who have a birthmark on their left hand, and I've cleared it so well. These are the legislations, and then the solution is, the legislation just has some problems. Let us modify paragraph 1 and 2 and whatever. But the main thing is the whole legislation is a legislation to kill people who have marks on their hand.
But the law, there's nowhere in the law that I have read, and I haven't read all of it, the abstracts that I have read, that said that anyone should be killed.
Oh, no, I'm saying mark on the hand. That was just an example. I mean, the bill says a lot of things. And what Prof. Menu said yesterday about it, it's trying to criminalize people who even do advocacy for the rights. You go to about 5 to 10 years in jail. It's going to criminalize people's actual existence. And anyway, all of this noise that came up, the queer community has not submitted any bills to Parliament. They've not submitted any laws that they want that they should be legalized in this country. They actually haven't done anything. The first reason why this came up is because now there's a bill from other people trying to legislate on their lives. Do you get what's happening? They haven't gone to say, I want to be married. Ghanaian queers haven't said that. Ghanaian queers are not asking for marriage. but you're there and all of a sudden now this bill is legislated against you. So that's what I want us to see is also happening.
Okay.
They didn't bring any bills. There's only one bill, which was that bill. You don't have a bill trying to legalize same-sex marriage in this country, do we?
So that's one side of the argument, and that was presented yesterday on the show. You are for the other side.
Now, so what I'm saying is that Augusta said she doesn't agree that it should be legislated. How about instances where someone of the queer community decides that I would, for example, initiate this little boy or girl, whether it's by whatever means. When I say legislation, I don't think she understood what I mean. When I say legislation, it's actually that, okay, so if of course you are here with us and we can't throw you away, or we can't say that we are outrightly putting you in jail or harming you or whatever, can we actually legislate? And the legislation will not always go against that community. There are clauses in the legislation that calls for support for them. And so if Aksa is saying that let's share love, let's share kindness, we just a while ago spoke about therapy. All those things are inclusive. It's okay to say that there are fractions in the bill that let's address this. This is so inhuman. This is this. But to say that let us just.
But do you admit that there are parts of that same bill that see the LGBTQ plus and all the alphabets as something that needs to be fixed? So it sees it as something that is broken. And it goes back to the conversations around it's not in our culture, and this is not the kind of people we are, and our morals do not accept this.
Thelma, and that is where I stand, that it is not part of our culture. And so when others also argue that and culture is dynamic and it is changing and we should allow, Thelma, it's a no-go area.
Polygamy is part of our culture. Should we make that legal?
No, Thelma. So just look, let's also bring that to the conversation. What I'm saying is that if we decide today that we agree to polygamy, to make that legal, it's a conversation. Either ways, it must be legislated. You can't say that simply because they're part of our culture, allow it to run. What I'm saying is that if we decide that now this is actually a thriving space, there is the need for legislation. Legislation on the fact that by the mere fact that somebody behaves like Kojo Besia or I behave manly doesn't mean that I belong to the community, and for that reason you must hit me with stones, you must use abusive words at me. So when I say legislation, I'm not talking about legislate to say that pick them and put them in prison. That's not what we are talking about. What we are saying is that this is foreign, and I say this with my eyes wide open. It is foreign.
Akosia, do you get the point that Nai is making? She's saying that this is something that's outside our culture, is outside our belief system as a people, and so if it's a new space, the ideal thing to do
you are not giving me so much time to talk about this
issue.
You are not giving me so much time to talk on this.
Make your arguments.
Okay, so I can have this thing.
Oh no,
she would listen. She would listen to you.
What I'm saying is that, and back to Fuameni's conversation yesterday, that if you take me to my hometown, can I proudly hit my chest and say that I am for this? I cannot. See, we'll sit here and say that it is nothing. Let's go to our indigenous cultures. If I'm from Teshi, take me there. If I'm from Nungwa, take me there. If I'm from Choko, take me there. And let me tell my people that this is it. It is here that sometimes we'll sit on other platforms and say that allow them. Where indigenously we are from, these things are not allowed. And even if you decide to do it, you don't openly pride yourself in it. And that's why we are saying that for most people who do it, for most, not all, some may want to come out of it. And so the legislation equally prescribe therapy for them, prescribe actually support systems. Now, Thelma, back to the issues of, yesterday when Mrs. Fuameni was saying that, so if you allow people to do some of this, all the transmitted diseases that are accompanied with, do we have the health systems to support? The countries that have said that you have the go ahead to do, they have health systems to support. But when you come here in Ghana, NHIS sometimes has issues. You go to a facility, I need this medicine, and you are not getting. And so we should allow these things when we don't have, when I say support system, we don't have what it takes to bear the excesses. I don't think so.
What are your thoughts on some of the things we've talked about? Our WhatsApp number 055-5561034. These are your thoughts and not the thoughts of GBC. Straight to the screen, I'll only be able to pick a few for lack of time. First one, I got reason to commit suicide when a rich man came in for my property by the help of a government machinery. I felt emptied and had all the thoughts of ending life. I'm surviving from depression. Saying also that stay on earth for 54 years now. I've not seen any president or vice with same-sex spouses. Okay. messages coming in. Great contributions for people going through issues. We are all there to support such people. Reverend Yao Opong and Koma sent us that message. They just don't want me to read the bottom messages. Good morning, Thelma. See the way the two ladies were giving beautiful speech about the Heritage Month, but they are not wearing anything showing for, or is it just for talk? They are coming for you. Dito, you cannot have Nat's number. If she's single, I doff my hat to you. Two stands. People are making their shots on the screen. I want to ask Akosia Hansen, if her parents are gay, would she have been sitting on television to talk for gays today? I mean, let's be serious here. More conversations. It was an Obama Democrat foreign policy, not Trump, to pull away from global leadership, which then emboldened China and Russia to step into the space. We must revisit the U.S. presidential debates from the Obama era till the last one in 2020. Mami Nacho, I don't agree with you on this one for the first time. My family member has to call all the relatives who contacts are on his phone list for just that. President Obama daughter to the hospital when he arrived in Ghana in 2009. Do you know the comments children make back in school after welcoming such people? This elephant, it seems there are lots of people in this elephant room, because the kind of comments we hear on our airwaves, I'm even surprised. So they're talking about the children who go to wave the flags at the visiting dignitaries. We don't need to wait for armed robbers to bring the legislation before we legislate against it. One sentence comment. Reverend is coming again. Yes, culture is dynamic, but this LGBTQ plus is clear against the human body. Nobody can explain it. Ghana should not try this here. Mahamaba, talking about issues we haven't mentioned at the table. Lottie Jones talking about an incompetent government that he's seeing. More messages. Beautiful ladies, we are making noise about the staff at Flagstaff House, but we have forgotten the unemployment space in our country that we can't do anything about. Yeah. If these people are sacked, what will be their future? Did anyone make a comment against the... Okay, so here's as a child in the 70s, I stood at 37 hospital roundabout with a flag to welcome Zaire's Mobutu Sese Seko and Romania's Nicole. I won't attempt to say it because otherwise I might stumble upon it. And they said, but I still remember the experience of the motorcade and the pump. And for those basics international kids from Choco who are socially very far from your kid status, meeting a powerful woman role model like the VP of the US, Kamala Harris, can be a positive thing. Among these kids were actual previous and current juvenile national chess champions who are beating the kids from the posh backgrounds. Every child, regardless of their social background, deserves a leg up. Osa sent us that message. Tall one. And now this one, we'll have to send it to you. Talked about, I went to the Independence Square when President Clinton, President Bush visited, and it was not just for fun, but the memory. It was not just the children standing in the sun, but they will have the privilege of telling of their presence when the first female black American vice president visited Ghana. The Independence Day clip of Osajifo and his team is a memorial one, which I'm sure keeps the memory of our founding fathers for the generations to come. So, reiterating a lot of the comments there. Isaac Boache, please, the doomsaw is in again, period, and just accept it for us to move on. Human rights issues about sex advocates has always been in conflict with Ghanaian sexual taboos in 16 regions of Ghana. Let's forgive the Vice President of the USA answer and her answer to a question from the media. Well, people are entitled to their own beliefs, and where she is from, that is accepted. So, freedom of thought and opinions. Thelma, indeed, there are so many things we can do as a country for progress and prosperity. We must reflect on what we have done and what we need to do beyond the mere radio and TV. Ghana is blessed, and it's incumbent on our leaders to show leadership skills to shape and give hope to people. Abdul Razak sent us this from Tamale. I'll pick the last two at the top and then we go. Ghana is simply not ready to accept LGBTQ, is what Sam Valentine is saying. Beautiful morning, GTV. Kudos to you and the guests at the table. Really enjoying the discussions. Wise men. Please tell Nacho to be patient when she's making submission, and that's where we wrap it all up, ladies.
I mean, so but I understand. You see,
make your sometimes like passionate women. Yeah, women should also be passionate.
I think it has to do with the issue of the LGBTQ. Often when I'm talking, I'm very calm, but this one, I mean, it gives me. But I understand.
But we love the passionate conversations, especially around the ones that matter, on the issues that matter more deeply to us. Can we, because, you know, the US are our friends, can we talk about Donald Trump for a minute before we rise? There is an indictment for the first time against the former US president, and Donald Trump is facing criminal charges in a case in New York where he's alleged to have paid some monies to a porn star, and a Manhattan grand jury voted to indict Donald Trump for his role in paying hush money to a porn star, according to 5 people with knowledge of the matter. The move forever marks Mr. Trump as the nation's first former president to face criminal charges. He's expected to turn himself in and face arraignment on Tuesday.
Well, so it's not a story I've followed personally. Okay. I don't know if Akosua has. Maybe from here I'll just go in. It's not a story I've followed.
Okay, Akosua. So I mean, Donald Trump?
I feel like after the Capitol and what he pulled, you know, it was just coming. You know, he should have been in jail for pulling that. That was an insurrection, you know. So I feel like they've been trying to catch him on something, and they got something. They finally got something. He shouldn't be allowed to even run again after something like that, because the president of a country is supposed to be the one protecting the country, and you rather put its democracy in threat. It's ridiculous.
And I mean, for the running, there's the opposition right from the presidential primaries. I've seen about 2 names, a male and a female. So let's see how it goes.
Well, the CNN report that I have on my screen right now says that Donald Trump faces more than 30 counts related to business fraud in an indictment from a Manhattan grand jury, according to sources familiar with the case. The first time in American history that a current or former president faces criminal charges. Trump is expected to appear in court on Tuesday, and the indictment has been filed under seal and will be announced in the coming days. The charges are not publicly known at this time, but it's Manhattan's District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office that has been investigating the former president in connection with his alleged role in the hush money payment scheme and cover-up involving adult film star Stormy Daniels that dates back to the 2016 presidential election. Grand jury proceedings are secret, but a source familiar with the case told CNN that a witness gave about 30 minutes of testimony before it voted to indict Trump. So this is from the CNN website that I've just read to you. So credits to CNN for that story. And remember also that Michael Cohen, who is a strong ally of Donald Trump, has actually had to spend some time in prison for this one that Trump is now being asked to face. We'll see where the story goes. But ladies, thank you so much for making
maybe a minute to wish my sister happy birthday.
All right.
So happy birthday to my sister, lawyer Joyce Nioting, works at the office of the Attorney General. Says happy birthday. Thank you for the love. Okay.
Akosua, final.
Yeah, my final words, Charlie. I'll just say let's remind ourselves of love. And I also want to say we shouldn't conflate pedophilia with adults, consenting adults. As a little girl and growing up in Ghana from 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, it was always older men who were trying to sleep with me as a 9, 10-year-old, 11, 12-year-old girl. But I do not see any bill in Parliament to actually criminalize all these heterosexual men who were trying to sleep with little girls, who have slept with little girls, who continue to. Like, it's such a thing that we know that big men go to school campuses to go and pick up girls, but we don't have that type of outrage. So that's where I want to end and just say, Charlie, we are entering into April. Wish you all love. Wish you all Ghana's spirit. Wish you all freedom. And Thelma, you do wonderfully at your job. I also celebrate you this month of March. And I also celebrate you. I like that we can have our differences, in peace. I love this. This is how the Ghana agenda should be.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that I am personally totally in support of a peaceful Ghana agenda. Ladies, thank you so much for sitting with us at the table. Akosua Hansen, media personality, artistic activist, and culture curator. Now, New York communication expert, and both very dear friends of ours. Good morning to you, Shamima Muslim, who is also a dear friend of ours from this table. Today we are sending you flowers and we are sending you love. And for all of you who celebrated your birthday in the month of March, the people that we all love, we are sending you nothing but love. Naneka Iris, I love you. Hey, SP, tomorrow you go top president. My girl. We'll be back for more on The Breakfast Show after the break. Stay with us.
Introduces charcoal and lemon essence